I had dinner at a Cajun place not too long ago, and I ordered jambalaya, and they said, we don't have jambalaya. So I ordered etouffee. They said, we don't have etouffee. And I said, how in the hell do you call this a Cajun place? There isn't much that says Cajun to me more than jambalaya. Let's make some. Let's talk ingredients for just a minute. To make jambalaya, you need rice. And we're going to cook rice right here in the rice cooker. I need some red wine, oregano, cayenne pepper. I've got my Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, some thyme. This is just a blend of salt, pepper, and garlic. Got some Old Bay Tabasco. Then, for our meats, I've got chopped up ham and a pound of andouille sausage. I've got an onion chopped up, a bell pepper chopped up, just about 3 stalks of celery, and a bunch of green onion. Then I've got shrimp, about a pound. Got a pound of chicken thighs that I've trimmed and cut. I've got a can, which is a pound, of diced tomatoes a la Kroger. I've got some leftover crayfish. Now, you don't need this, but I had it left over. I got to use it for something. It's already cooked, so it's going to go in here. And then you need some V8. All right, to make jambalaya, you got to have rice. And that's why a lot of people call it rice stew or leftover stew. Now, I got my rice here in the rice cooker. I've got about 2½ cups of dry rice and then water to the 2½ mark. If you don't have a rice cooker, you can cook this in the oven. You can cook it on the stovetop. You can use minute rice, I guess. I'm just going to turn this on, hit the white rice button, and let it do its thing. It's going to take about 25 minutes for that rice to cook, which is fine because we're going to need that to cook everything else. We're going to put some butter in the bottom of this 8-quart saucepan. I like garlic butter, Chef Chamois. You can buy it at Sam's Club. I'm going to put a couple of good-sized lumps of garlic in there. Garlic butter in it, and let that cook down. Once you got your butter melted down, then we're going to add our vegetables. So let's just take the Cajun Trinity here and our green onions and dump those right on in. As with most Cajun cooking, we're going to cook these vegetables until they are translucent. But we're going to season them. We're going to add some of the Tony Chachere's, maybe a couple of teaspoons. And we're going to add some of our salt, pepper, and garlic. Add some thyme. And a little bit of Old Bay. Some oregano. We're going to let this cook down a little bit before we do anything else. Now, these vegetables have been cooking covered on medium-high heat for about the better part of 5 minutes. And they're getting pretty limp. And this is where the big argument starts. A lot of people will say, you cook your meats in a separate pot and add them to the jambalaya. I don't do it that way. Because I want the flavors of the meat to mix with the flavors of the vegetables before I build it up to make it into the stew. So I'm going to take my raw meats, my shrimp, and my chicken, and put them in here now and mix them in. I'm also going to add a little more of the Creole seasoning and stir that together. And I'm going to cover this, stir it occasionally, and let it cook for about another 5 or 6 minutes to extract the oils out of the fish and out of the chicken before we do anything else. All right, so it's been about 4 minutes. I've turned the heat down just a little bit. And you can see that's cooked down, and you've got a lot of liquid that has come out of that chicken and shrimp. And the chicken and shrimp have all contracted, and everything's married together. I mean, I could eat it just like this, honestly. But now, we're going to add our pork fat. So the sausage and the ham is going to go in there. Now mix that in. Now keep in mind this ham and sausage is already cooked. So all we're going to do now is let that mellow together and extract some of the fat out of the sausage. And that's going to take 2 or 3 minutes at the most. So that's all been cooking together for a couple of minutes. And you can see the sausages shrunk up. The ham basically doesn't exist in the pot anymore. And you can see a lot more liquid. That's all that pork fat that's extracted. We want that. Mix this together, let all those flavors intermingle, and we're going to start adding the stuff to make it a stew. So the first thing we're going to do is add a little white wine. I almost said white wine. We're going to add a little red wine. That's maybe 3 or 4 ounces, not even a half of a cup. We're going to mix that in there. And honestly, it doesn't matter what kind of red wine you use. You can use white wine if you'd rather, but I think you get better flavor when you just use a red wine. This just happens to be red wine I got left over from dinner night before last, I believe. I'm not going to drink it anymore. Might as well cook with it. Just a red blend. We're going to bring the heat up because we want this to boil. It's already starting to boil. It's perfect. Because now we're going to add our tomatoes. This is just a can of diced tomatoes. Now, if you want to use ripe tomatoes, you can. It's so much faster this way. And you could use whole tomatoes if you'd rather. That's fine too. And if you want more tomato in here, you can do that too. As you add those tomatoes, you're going to notice it stops boiling in a hurry. That's all right. Now we're going to, as a friend of mine says, juice this up. So we're going to throw in some Tabasco. If you don't like Tabasco, if you'd rather use a different hot sauce, if you don't want any of it, that's fine. But I like Tabasco. I like the vinegar. You can use Louisiana hot sauce. That's fine too. I like a lot of Tabasco because I like my jambalaya to reach back and bite me. I'm going to add just a teeny bit, and I do mean a teeny bit, of cayenne pepper. And then I'm going to use this Bloody Mary mix V8. It's just V8 with some extra spices in it. And celery. I'll put about 4 ounces of that in there. And I'm going to put about the same amount of just regular V8, since it hasn't been opened yet. Going to shake it up. If you'd rather use straight tomato juice, that's fine. I like V8. I like the flavor of V8. Alright, so we're going to stir this together. And if you put cayenne and Tabasco in it, you are going to smell it now. So here's the key. We need this to come back up to a boil, but only for a minute or two. Then we're going to let it sit and simmer on low for at least 30 minutes. All that flavor is going to combine. Then when our rice is done, we're going to dump the rice in the pot, off the heat, turn it together. Voila, you got jambalaya. See you in a little bit. Hey, welcome back. And I'm drinking a Red Rooster. If you don't know what that is, check the video out on my channel. Really, really good. Anyway, it's been about 20 minutes. Now, I would recommend you let this cook for a little bit longer, but my rice is done, and for this video, it's good. When you open this up, you're going to see that you have what looks like a tomato soup. Stir this a little bit, and I know what some of you are probably thinking, what happened to the crawfish? Well, crawfish were fully cooked, and there was absolutely no reason to cook them more. So they're going to get dumped in there now. I just turned the heat off. I'm going to stir them in. Now we're going to dump our rice in and get ready to turn that in the big Why it's not always Mardi Gras Foods, I got one for you. Somebody emailed me yesterday. Absolutely. As always, like, share, and subscribe.